Boys and girls, I'm sorry I cannot be with you today. I'm in sunny Daytona, Florida. In a few moments, I'll be lying out on the beach, soaking up the sun. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm at Heritage High School, and I'm receiving tech training that I'll bring back to the staff when I come back. In the meantime, you have a graded assessment. Okay, it says quiz at the top. It's a graded assessment. There is no sharing of information with one another, although you may use your notes. Treat it as an open notebook quiz. You can use any of your own materials. Just don't borrow from your neighbors. And please, no talking. Absolutely no talking. So finish this assessment in class. If you don't finish it, it'll still be collected at the end of class. And when you're done with that, there is another worksheet. It's a double-sided worksheet. Please work on it. Get as much done. What's not finished in class will be homework. And what I'd like to do is just quickly go over the graded assessment and your homework assignment in the following moments. Let's take a look. Boys and girls, let's look at our assessment. Just especially Core 3, ignore the whole quiz part. Okay, this is an open notebook graded assessment. Just do your very best. Here it says state the inputs and outputs for the following ordered pairs. Here's your ordered pairs. Pick out all the inputs, put them here, and separate them with commas. Then look over here again and put all your outputs on this line, separating by commas. And is this a function and why? You may want to look at your notes to test out the data to see whether or not it's a function. And please explain why briefly. The second part, evaluate the outputs for each of the equations, evaluate the outputs of each equation when the inputs are -2, 3, and 7. Now there's really only one equation, or one function. It's y is equal to x squared minus 3. So here's your inputs. Okay, based upon that, put your outputs, which are y's. Okay, so when you substitute -2 in, what's going to be your output, and then put it in ordered pair format, like you're going to use them as coordinates to graph. Okay, so just put them in x, y with the parentheses around them. Again, is this a function? You might want to go to your notes and test it and be able to explain your reason briefly. 3 and 4, we have two graphs here. Do the test, whether or not one of the tests, to figure out if it's a function or not. Again, you might want to reference your notes. And then number 5 says graph the following equation. Just focus on this right here. Just focus on that. Okay, the reason for that is the original equation was y minus 3 is equal to x squared. Well, we want to have the equation in terms of y. Okay, so we have y is equal to x squared plus 3. Here's your function. Here are your x values. Put your y values in, then your coordinate pairs, and then graph it over here. And then answer the question, is this equation a function? Again, explain your reason. Number 6, I'm just going to say hold off on 6. Hold off on 6. You don't have to do 6. Then number 7, please, it says the graph below shows John's trip to school. He walks to his Sam's house. That's bad English. And together they ride the bus to school. The bus stops once before arriving at school. Describe how each part A through E of the graph relates to the story. So look at this line segment A here, what's happening. Look at line segment B here, what's happening, and so forth with line segment C, D, and line segment E. Just tell the story for each of those sections, explain what's happening. You can reference the story here as well as your graph. And then number 8, finally, describe the graph of the function between x is equal to 2 and where x is equal to y. So find out where x is equal to 2 on the graph and where x is equal to 5 and explain what's happening. Is it increasing, decreasing, linear, or nonlinear? Okay, actually I would use all of those. Well, you're going to use 2 of the 4 terms to explain what's happening when x is 2 to when x is 5. Good luck. Boys and girls, let's take a look at number 1 on our homework assignment, which is actually a class assignment. What's not finished in class will become homework. Here we have a function table. Here we have the functions, the input values for x. Okay, so if x is going to be a -4 for this I would say 2 times negative 4 is negative 8, and then negative 8 plus 3 would be negative 5. Okay, then over here, then I put this function here into, I should say, put this value for x into this function here, which is x minus 5. So I have a negative 4 minus 5, that would be negative 9. Here I would substitute negative 4 into this function, which would be a negative 3 times a negative 4, which is a positive 12, and positive 12 plus 7 is 19. And then for my next function, my function 7x minus 8, 7 times negative 4 would be a negative 28, and a negative 28 minus 8 would be a negative 36. And then last but not least, my last function is x squared, and when x is equal to negative 4 squared is a positive 16. Okay, continue. Each here are your functions again, or function rules, and then we would just substitute x with these values for x, and then we put our value for y in these cells here. I think you've got the hang of it. Boys and girls, let's flip over the worksheet now and look at the back side of it where we're graphing functions. And number 1, our function is negative 3x plus 4. Here we have our x values, or inputs. These are our domain, and then down here would be our y values, or our outputs, which would be our range. So let's substitute our first value for x, which is negative 2, and negative 3 times negative 2 is a positive 6, and 6 plus 4 is 10. Put that right there. Then we'll substitute 0. Negative 3 times 0 is 0, plus 4 is 4. And then we'll substitute with a 2. Negative 3 times 2 is a negative 6, and a negative 6 plus 4 is a negative 2. Then we'll substitute for 3, x with 3. A negative 3 times 3 is a negative 9, and a negative 9 plus 4 is a negative 5. And then we'll substitute x with 4. A negative 3 times 4 is a negative 12, and a negative 12 plus 4 is a negative 8. Now our final step will be to graph these coordinates. We're going to treat these like x and y coordinates. So my first value for x is a negative 2, and then y value would be 10. And then I'm going to take, so that one's taken care of. Now I take, when x is 0, y would be 4, which would fall right there. And my next value for x would be 2. When x is 2, y would be negative 2, which is right there. And then I'll substitute, and then when x is 3, y would be a negative 5, which would be right there, approximately. And then the last piece of data that we have is when x is 4, y would be negative 8. And if we should be able to connect these together, there is our straight line. So we graph this function, and we have a downward sloping line, and do the rest of the problems just like this one. Have fun.